Ethan had never imagined that a mission to a distant planet could feel so alive. The moment the exploration team's ship touched down on the golden sands of Kelara, he realized this world was unlike any other he had studied from orbit. The sky shimmered in shades of lilac and teal, and the twin suns cast long, twisting shadows across the landscape. Strange crystalline structures dotted the horizon, glittering like frozen fire. But amid all this beauty, it was the people who captivated him most. Tall, graceful beings with skin that seemed to reflect light in subtle colors moved with elegance he could barely comprehend. And among them was Leora, the princess. Leora was unlike anyone Ethan had ever met. She commanded attention without effort. Even when standing silently, her presence seemed to fill a room, or in this case, the open square of Kelara's capital city. Her hair flowed like liquid silver, catching the sun, and her eyes, deep and luminous, held both curiosity and authority. She studied Ethan carefully the first time they met, tilting her head slightly, as if measuring whether he belonged in her world. For weeks, Ethan worked alongside Leora and her team of scholars and strategists. His role was simple in theory: act as a liaison, help bridge human knowledge with alien technology, and learn as much as possible about Kelara's culture. In practice, it was exhausting and bewildering. Every gesture, every expression carried meaning he sometimes couldn't decipher. Leora spoke with a calm precision, her words deliberate. She had a way of asking questions that made Ethan feel both challenged and exposed, as if she could see his thoughts before he spoke them aloud. Despite the formalities, Ethan found himself drawn to her. It wasn't just admiration, it was a deep, unexplainable pull. He would catch himself watching her from across the hall, noting how she moved, how her eyes flicked over the crystalline maps on the walls, how her voice held a soft authority when speaking to her advisors. And she seemed to notice him too, in subtle ways. A nod, a brief smile, a slight lean when she wanted to hear him more clearly. Each small gesture sparked something in him he had never felt before. One day, the city's sensors detected a brewing storm on the horizon, a massive sandstorm moving fast across the plains. The team had little time to evacuate people from the outer districts. Ethan was assigned to assist Leora personally, ensuring she reached a safe location. As they rushed through the winding streets, the wind whipped violently around them. Sand pelted their faces, and visibility dropped to almost nothing. Leora's usual calm demeanor remained, but Ethan could sense her tension beneath the surface. Suddenly, a section of an unstable crystalline wall cracked, threatening to collapse. Without thinking, Ethan lunged forward, grabbing her arm and pulling her away just as the wall shattered behind them. They stumbled into a narrow alley, both breathing heavily. Adrenaline coursed through Ethan's veins. For a moment, the world felt as if it had shrunk down to just the two of them, two hearts beating fast in the chaos. And then, before he could stop himself, words he hadn't planned tumbled from his mouth. "I love you." The words hung in the air like sparks. Ethan froze immediately, realizing the magnitude of what he had just said. He opened his mouth to apologize, to explain that it was a mistake, but no sound came. He looked at Leora, expecting shock, anger, or at least confusion. Instead, her expression softened. Her luminous eyes seemed to hold warmth he had never noticed before, and her lips curved into a gentle smile. "Finally," she whispered. Ethan blinked. "Finally," he repeated, unsure he had heard her correctly. She stepped closer, the sandstorm raging around them, and her voice was calm, almost tender. "Yes, finally, you've spoken what I've long hoped you would feel, but I wondered if you ever could." Ethan's mind spun. Her response didn't just surprise him, it unsettled him. Did she mean she had waited for him to feel this way? Did Kalaran customs view love differently than humans? He wanted to speak, to ask, to clarify, but the storm drowned out any words that could form. In that moment, a quiet understanding passed between them. Something fundamental had shifted. Where once there had been formality, there was now something more intimate, a silent acknowledgement of connection. They moved together through the storm, Leora guiding them both to the safety of a nearby shelter built into the crystalline cliffs. Inside, the warmth of the structure contrasted sharply with the violent storm outside. Ethan felt a mixture of relief and nervous anticipation. He had crossed a line he hadn't intended, yet her reaction made it feel less like a mistake and more like an opening. Leora, sensing his turmoil, placed a hand lightly on his arm. Her touch was firm but gentle, grounding him. "You are not like the others," she said softly. "You think differently, feel differently. You care, truly care, in a way that humans rarely show. That is why I have waited even if I did not know it." Ethan swallowed hard. I never imagined that you could feel that too." Leora's smile deepened. "Feel what? Understanding. Trust, or the pull between us?" He laughed nervously. "All of it, I guess." For the next hours they sat in silence, occasionally speaking about trivial matters to distract themselves from the storm outside. Ethan learned more about Leora than he had in weeks of formal discussion. She spoke of her responsibilities, the expectations placed upon her as the heir to the Kalaran throne, and the isolation that came with it. Ethan shared stories of Earth, of humanity's struggles and achievements, and the small moments of kindness that made life meaningful. By the time the storm subsided, a bond had formed that went beyond mere curiosity or duty. It was a fragile, new understanding, but one charged with potential. They emerged from the shelter to see the city battered but standing. Crystalline shards littered the streets, but the people were safe. Ethan realized that this world, which had once felt distant and alien, was now a place where he could imagine belonging. Days passed, and the incident with the storm became a turning point. Their collaboration continued, but with a subtle shift. Tasks that had once been strictly professional now included shared moments of laughter, quiet conversations in empty halls, and an ease of communication that surprised both of them. Ethan found himself anticipating these moments, counting the minutes until he could see her again, while Leora's presence seemed to carry a hint of warmth whenever he approached. Then, as if fate had more tests in store, the city received reports of a rogue group of Kalaran warriors who had refused to follow the princess's rule. They attacked the outer perimeter, hoping to destabilize the city while the royal leaders focused on trade negotiations with human visitors. Chaos erupted, and Ethan and Leora had no choice but to act. Ethan relied on his human ingenuity, quick thinking, improvised tools, and unpredictable strategies that Kalaran warriors did not anticipate. Leora, on the other hand, used her intimate knowledge of the city's defenses, her ability to predict enemy movements, and the precision of her commands. Side by side, they coordinated the city's response, saving both civilians and key strategic points. During a critical moment, Ethan risked himself to redirect a collapsing energy conduit, and Leora called out instructions that kept them both safe. They moved as one, their actions synchronized in a way that went beyond teamwork. The unspoken trust between them had grown stronger, fueled by shared danger and mutual respect. When the attack finally ended, the city stood battered but intact. Ethan was exhausted, covered in dust and minor burns, yet he felt an exhilaration he had never known. Leora approached him, her eyes calm, yet filled with something deeper. "You are remarkable," she said, "not just for what you did today, but for who you are. You see beyond what others see. You act when others hesitate. That is rare in any species." Ethan shook his head, humbled. "I just did what anyone would do, anyone who cared." Her gaze softened. "Not anyone," she said. "You." That night, as the city slowly returned to its routine, Ethan sat alone on a balcony overlooking the crystalline horizon. The words he had spoken during the storm echoed in his mind. "I love you." And Leora's reply, "Finally," replayed in his memory like a melody he could not forget. He realized that their bond was more than attraction or fleeting emotion. It was the beginning of something that could bridge not just two hearts but two worlds. Yet he also knew that the challenges ahead would test them further. Trust, loyalty, and courage would all be required, not just from him but from the people of Kelara. As he watched the twin suns set, casting a soft lavender glow over the city, Ethan felt a quiet determination. He would protect Leora, not just because he loved her but because he believed in what she represented. Hope, unity, and the possibility that even across galaxies, hearts could find each other. And somewhere he knew Leora was thinking the same thing. Part 1 ended with both Ethan and Leora standing at the threshold of something new, a bond forged in chaos, tested by danger, and strengthened by the courage to feel. The adventure, the challenges, and the deeper journey of understanding each other were just beginning. The morning after the storm, Kelara's city felt different to Ethan. The crystalline streets glistened in soft sunlight, reflecting the scars of the previous night. Though the city was alive again, the echoes of chaos lingered, a reminder of the dangers that came with power and leadership. Yet amid the tension, Ethan noticed a subtle shift in Leora. She moved with more ease, smiled more often, and seemed to allow herself moments of vulnerability that had been rare before. Ethan met her in the palace gardens, a serene expanse of bioluminescent flora that glowed gently under Kelara's twin suns. Leora was already there, seated by a pond that reflected the light in delicate ripples. She looked up as he approached, her silver hair catching the sun. "You're early," she said softly, though her tone carried warmth instead of the usual formality. "I wanted to see you," Ethan replied, feeling a flutter in his chest. "After everything, I wanted to make sure you were okay." Leora's eyes softened. "I am because you were there, not just physically but with understanding. That is rare in humans and even rarer in those who seek to bridge worlds." Ethan sat beside her, the gentle glow of the garden surrounding them. "I don't feel rare," he admitted. I just, I just try to do what's right, and I care about you more than I expected." She turned toward him, her eyes reflecting the colors of the pond. "And I care about you. That is why I whispered finally. I wondered if you could ever feel what I felt, and now we can start something real." For the first time, Ethan allowed himself to imagine a future with Leora, not just as an ally or friend, but as something more. Yet he knew that their growing bond would not be free from obstacles. The political council of Kelara still eyed him with suspicion, and rogue factions that had attacked the city before might return. Love in a world like this required courage, not just of the heart, but of mind and action. Their peaceful moment was soon interrupted by a messenger arriving in haste. The city's council demanded Leora's presence. A diplomatic dispute with a neighboring planetary system had escalated, and her decisions would affect not only her people but humans as well. Ethan followed her, knowing that he had a role to play, not only as her companion but as someone whose perspective could make a difference. Inside the council chamber, tension filled the air. Aliens of varying shapes and colors argued over trade agreements, territorial claims, and security measures. Ethan observed quietly, noting the subtle cues in their voices and gestures, understanding more than some council members realized. Leora addressed the room with calm authority, yet Ethan could see the weight of responsibility in her posture. "We must consider not only the immediate consequences," she said, "but the long-term stability of Kelara and our allies." One council member, a tall alien with deep violet skin and sharp features, spoke up. "And what of this human? How can we trust him to advise in matters that shape our future?" Ethan stepped forward, feeling a surge of determination. "I am not here to replace your decisions," he said steadily. "I am here to offer insight, to help understand human perspectives and how cooperation can benefit both our worlds. My only interest is in peace and in supporting the princess." The chamber fell silent. Leora's gaze met his, and for a moment she allowed a subtle smile. Her trust in him was clear, and in that glance Ethan felt an unspoken agreement. They would face the challenges together. As discussions continued, Ethan found himself gradually contributing strategies that blended human ingenuity with Kalaran methods. He suggested ways to improve communication, logistics, and defenses, drawing upon patterns humans had used for centuries. Slowly, the council's skepticism began to fade, replaced by cautious respect. After hours of negotiations, the council adjourned. Leora turned to Ethan, her expression tired but proud. "You handled yourself well," she said. "You have shown not only courage in battle but wisdom in diplomacy. That is why I trust you." Ethan smiled, though he felt the weight of the day. "I just want to help and be with you." Leora's eyes softened. "And that is why you will continue to be at my side. Together, we can prove that trust and love are stronger than fear and tradition." Over the following days, their relationship deepened. They shared quiet meals, studied alien texts, and explored hidden parts of the city together. Ethan learned more about Kalara's history, its achievements, and its struggles. Leora, in turn, learned about human resilience, innovation, and the small acts of kindness that defined Ethan's character. One evening, as they walked along a cliff overlooking the city, the twin suns dipped below the horizon, casting the sky in brilliant shades of pink and purple. Ethan paused, looking at Leora. "I never imagined I'd feel at home here," he said quietly. "Not on this planet, not with anyone until you." Leora turned to him, her silver hair glowing in the fading light. "And I never imagined I'd find someone who sees me, truly sees me. Someone who understands both my duty and my heart." They stood together in silence, the wind gently tugging at their clothing, the city lights twinkling below. For a moment, nothing else existed. No council, no rogue factions, no politics, just the connection between them. But peace in Kalara was never guaranteed. Reports soon arrived of another rogue group attempting to exploit the diplomatic tensions. This time, the threat was larger, more organized. Ethan and Leora knew they had to act decisively. Their trust in each other would be tested not by words, but by action. They spent hours strategizing, combining human tactics with Kalaran knowledge. When the time came, they led a coordinated defense that protected the city and neutralized the threat. Once again, Ethan's courage and quick thinking proved invaluable. Leora's leadership inspired loyalty and precision among her forces. After the battle, the citizens of Kalara celebrated their victory. Ethan was recognized not just as a human ally, but as someone who had earned the respect of an entire civilization. Leora, standing beside him, felt a sense of relief and pride. They had faced danger together, and their bond had only grown stronger. That night, alone in the palace gardens, Leora reached out and took Ethan's hand. "We have faced storms and battles," she said softly. "But the greatest challenge is not outside, it is what lies in our hearts. Are we ready to embrace what we feel even if it defies expectations?" Ethan looked into her eyes, the same eyes that had captivated him from the moment he arrived. "I am ready," he said firmly. "I love you and I will face whatever comes with you." Leora smiled, a genuine, radiant smile that lit the night. "Then we will face it together," she replied. "And perhaps together we can show our worlds that love and understanding are stronger than fear and doubt." As they stood there, hand in hand, the twin suns, light fading into the soft glow of Kalara's night, Ethan realized that their journey was only beginning. There would be challenges, misunderstandings, and dangers yet to come, but he also knew that with Leora by his side, he could face anything. For the first time in his life, he felt truly understood, truly valued, not just for his skills or his actions, but for who he was. And he knew that Leora felt the same. In a universe vast and full of uncertainty, they had found something rare and precious, a connection that transcended species, worlds, and expectations. And in that moment, amidst the glow of an alien night, they both understood the truth of their feelings. Love, once unspoken and uncertain, had finally found its place between them.